Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. Welcome to your daily dose of the most hilarious, cutting-edge, and surprisingly insightful news from the world of late-night comedy. Today we're celebrating a long-awaited victory for travelers everywhere as a common airport annoyance finally bites the dust. And who better to deliver the celebratory news with a healthy dose of satire than the Daily Show host, Ronny Chieng. He's calling the end of the airport shoes-off policy long overdue, and in true Chieng style, he's taken a few hilarious jabs along the way, even at the TSA and Boeing? Get ready, because the skies just got a little friendlier for your feet. For nearly a quarter century, a familiar ritual has played out at airport security checkpoints across the United States, the mandated removal of shoes. It's been a source of countless sighs, exasperated glances, and the occasional awkward stumble. But now, in a surprisingly welcome piece of news that has brought a collective sigh of relief to millions of travelers, that era is officially over. And no one is celebrating this monumental policy shift with more unbridled comedic enthusiasm than the Daily Show host, Ronny Chieng. On Tuesday night, Chieng opened his segment on the Comedy Central show with a direct address to his audience, acknowledging the often bleak landscape of current events. I know a lot of people out here are always like, oh, the news is so awful, Chieng began, mimicking the collective groan of despair. Everything is terrible. I hate fascism. Do something, wah, wah, wah. He then delivered the punchline with characteristic bluntness. Well, stop whining, okay? Because finally there's some great news for America. The great news Chieng was referring to came via Tuesday announcement from the Transportation Security Administration, TSA itself. The agency responsible for securing our nation's airports officially stated that travelers in the U.S. will no longer be required to take off their shoes at airport security checkpoints. This simple policy change, a seemingly small adjustment, in the grand scheme of things, represents a significant victory for traveler convenience and a moment of genuine relief. The crowd in the Daily Show studio, clearly sharing in the jubilation, erupted into a spontaneous chant led by Chieng. TSA, 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 TSA. It was a rare moment of collective celebration for an agency more often associated with long lines and invasive procedures. Chieng, never one to shy away from biting social commentary, immediately infused his humor with cultural observations. Yes, the TSA finally got fed up with yelling at people to take their shoes off, just like Asians when white people visit, he quipped, drawing a humorous parallel to a common cultural custom. Just take your shoes off, you barbarians. Okay, there's no argument for shoes in the house. There's feces on the sidewalk. This joke, delivered with Chieng's signature deadpan delivery, not only added a layer of comedic absurdity, but also highlighted the fundamental, if often unspoken logic behind keeping dirty outdoor shoes out of clean indoor spaces, a practice deeply ingrained in many Asian cultures. The controversial shoes-off policy, which has been a staple of air travel for nearly a quarter century, actually dates back to a very specific and tragic event. The 9/11 terror attacks of September 11, 2001. While the general heightened security measures were a direct response to the horrific events of that day, the specific shoe policy was implemented in the wake of the infamous shoe bomber incident. In December 2001, just months after 9/11, a man named Richard Reed attempted to detonate explosives hidden in his shoes on American Airlines Flight 63, which was traveling from Paris to Miami. Fortunately, Reed's attempt was thwarted by flight attendants and passengers, but the incident sent shockwaves through the aviation security community. It revealed a new vulnerability, a new method terrorists might exploit. As a direct result, the TSA swiftly implemented the mandatory shoe removal policy for all passengers at security checkpoints, transforming the airport experience globally. For over 2 decades, this measure, however inconvenient, was deemed a necessary evil in the ongoing fight against terrorism. Ronny Chieng, in his monologue, acknowledged this historical context with his characteristic bluntness. Ending this policy is long overdue, he declared. And then he delivered a line that perfectly encapsulated the shift in public perception and the changing nature of perceived threats. It's 2025. Terrorists don't crash airplanes anymore, okay? Boeing crashes airplanes. This powerful, darkly humorous jab at Boeing, referencing the recent string of controversies and safety concerns surrounding the aircraft manufacturer, perfectly articulated a common sentiment among air travelers. It highlights the perceived shift from external terrorist threats to internal systemic failures within the aviation industry, a truly biting commentary on current events. The joke landed hard, striking a chord with many who share similar concerns about airline safety in the modern era. While celebrating this major policy change, Ronny Chieng did, however, manage to find at least one complaint, albeit a hilariously self-serving one. His grievance, delivered with mock indignation, spoke to the privileges of a certain segment of the traveling public. The only people this is not good for is elites like me who, and I don't want to brag here, have PreCheck. He lamented. For those unfamiliar, PreCheck is a trusted traveler program that allows approved low-risk passengers to enjoy expedited security screening at US airports. A key benefit of PreCheck is that passengers typically do not have to remove their shoes, laptops, liquids, or light jackets. It's a perk that costs money and requires an application process, granting a smoother, faster passage through security. Chieng's humor stemmed from the sudden erosion of this elite benefit. What benefits do I still have over you, plebs? He asked, using the colloquial term for commoners playing up his mock outrage. Because I pay to keep my shoes on. And now what? Everyone else is just keeping their shoes on for free? So what the bleep am I paying for? Hey, his bleeped out expletive punctuated the comedic frustration, highlighting the absurdity of paying for a privilege that is now suddenly free for everyone. It's a relatable complaint for anyone who is invested in a premium service only to see its benefits become democratized. This joke perfectly illustrates Chieng's ability to take a seemingly minor inconvenience and blow it up into a hilarious yet pointed critique of privilege and perceived unfairness. The end of the shoes-off policy, while a win for comfort, also signifies a broader shift in airport security philosophy. For years, the TSA has been criticized for implementing security measures that were often seen as performative or based on outdated threat models, rather than genuinely effective. The shoe policy was a prime example of this, a visible, inconvenient ritual that critics argued might not have been the most efficient use of resources in detecting modern threats. The TSA's decision to finally reverse this long-standing policy suggests a move towards more intelligence-driven security, utilizing advanced scanning technologies and threat assessments rather than blanket, intrusive procedures. While passengers will still undergo screening, the focus is increasingly shifting towards less invasive methods that can detect threats more effectively without inconveniencing the vast majority of law-abiding travelers. This could be a sign of a more passenger-friendly yet still secure future for air travel. Ronny Chieng's monologue, beyond its immediate humor, tapped into this broader conversation. His observation about terrorists don't crash airplanes anymore, Boeing crashes airplanes encapsulates the public's evolving understanding of risks. It also serves as a subtle call for government agencies and corporations to adapt their strategies to current realities, rather than clinging to outdated protocols based on past threats. Ultimately, Chieng's segment was a celebration of a small but significant victory for the common traveler. It highlighted the power of persistence, or perhaps the slow grinding gears of bureaucracy, in correcting an inconvenience that had become deeply entrenched. And in classic Daily Show fashion, it managed to be both incredibly funny and subtly insightful, reminding us that even in the most serious of times, there's always room for a bit of comedic relief and a sharp critique of the absurdities around us. So the next time you breeze through airport security with your shoes firmly on your feet, remember Ronny Chieng and give a silent cheer. Or if you're like him, grumble about your PreCheck benefits. And that's Ronny Chieng bringing us the truly good news from the world of airport security. No more shoes off. It's the small victory, but one we can all celebrate. We'll be keeping an eye on how these new policies unfold. Until next time, travel safely, keep your shoes on, and we'll see you then.